Hey everybody, this week's recap is brought to you by Elf Creek Games and their new worker placement game, Santa's Workshop, which I've got a copy of all the way down here south of the border in Mexico just in time for the holidays. What is it? Well, it is a family-friendly worker placement game where each player controls a group of elves whose job it is to decorate the Christmas tree, take care of the reindeer, and most importantly, answer these letters to Santa by making wonderful, sweet, adorable toys. And once you've gathered all the resources and made it and scored the points, the toys go into Santa's sleigh to be delivered to all the good boys and girls around the world. This game is so full of wonderful, charming touches. Andrew Bosley art for all the reindeer who have different special powers and whatnot if you're taking care of them. And the components are really nice too, like the wooden chits. The metal you can use is cool and shiny, as are the baubles that you hang on the Christmas tree. There is a lot to recommend here, and it comes in two modes. The intro way to play, which is good for young children, and then the more advanced way to play, where your workers can actually upgrade over time and get better at tasks, and you can invest in infrastructure and whatnot. And I would say at that level, it's kind of in the same realm as a Stone Age level depth of complexity. So you can have the really intro version and then the slightly heavier version that your family and friends can grow into. And now, folks, if you're more interested in the game, you're in luck because Ruel has filmed a run-through of it, and it's going to go up on the channel tomorrow, I believe. So you want to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss this and get some early holiday cheer courtesy of Ruel. And thank you to Elf Creek Games for sponsoring the show. Now, what is this show? In case it's your first one, folks, I do three things on this show today. For starters, I am going to tell you about all the games and videos and lists and everything that went up on my channel over the last 6 weeks in case you missed anything. Then I'm going to tell you about a bunch of videos that went up on other people's channels that I think are great. And I've got so many to talk about. I got to kind of pick up the pace. Probably the biggest list of other people's videos that I really am jonesing to show to you. And then finally, I tell you about some new games that I discovered that went on to my wish list on Board Game Geek. Very, very high. Some very cool stuff coming for that too. And let's not waste any more time, folks. Let's get to it, starting with an exclusive for backers of the show, either here on YouTube as a member or over at patreon.com. If you help keep Rahdo running, you could be watching me and my wife Jen in her monthly Jen Jog show, where I jog her memory about all the games we played over the last month, and she ranks them on a 1 to 5 star scale. And it's always a lot of fun. It's available right now as a thank you from me to you to help keep Rahdo running. And with that out of the way, let's talk about what everybody gets to see. It's the companion to the Gen Jog video. It's my monthly roundup where I tell you what I thought of all the games we played over the last month. Although the roundup was a bit late this month, I ended up doing 5 weeks of games, 17 to tell you about, ranked from my least favorite to my most favorite, filmed right here just north of San Felipe in Mexico. That video is available for everybody to watch right now. And there's going to be links for it and everything I talk about today, folks, down in the show notes, or if you wait till the end, there'll be a playlist that lets you see everything. My roundup is always done in countdown format, starting with my least favorite game of the month and ending with a new game of the month. What is the game of the month this time? Well, you'll have to watch the roundup to find out. So that's available to watch right now. What else? Well, let me just tell you, I really enjoyed filming a run-through of Wild Tiled West, a game that I covered earlier in the year, I think back in July, in my monthly roundup, but I never did a run-through of it. But Jen and I loved this polyomino tile-laying game set in the American West so much that I actually brought it with us on our epic half-year road trip, and we've been playing it some more, and I thought, you know what, seeing as how it's an early favorite to make it into my top 10 games of the year, I should probably do a run-through of it. And so I did that this week and put it up and had a great time showing you an excellent solo mode, although you get a good sense for what it's like to play as a multiplayer game too. So my run-through for Wild Tiled West is available right now, as well as another episode of the Rahdo Q&A, which is an excerpt show I take from my monthly audio podcast that you can listen to on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. But I take the game sections of my podcast and turn them into bi-weekly Q&As, and I put a new one up with a bunch of cool questions. The biggest one was fighting board game fatigue, and Jen actually joined me to give tips. And what's really nice is in the comments on this, a lot of other viewers gave their tips in case you're kind of getting burned out on board games, you want to recapture that spark, or maybe take a break. But anyway, it was a great Q&A as always. And you know what else is great? Grant Lyon, a professional comedian who every month does Grant's Greatest Games. He talks about his 5 favorite games he played over the last month, and he always ends up talking about stuff that would not get covered on the channel any other way because he's got such a wide-ranging, eclectic taste. And it was particularly fun this time because he also, in between games, gave a personal tour of his home and somehow drew parallels between the games he was talking about and some very interesting tidbits. Teen Choice, MTV Awards, all kinds of stuff you'd find in Grant's home. And so that was a lot of fun. Grant's Greatest Games. And if that weren't enough, I've also got a couple of Rahdo Rapid reviews for New York City, which I think is the best of the new Feld City remakes, although there are some big problems with the game too that I talk about in the Rapid review. And also Scoventer from designer Morten Monrad Peterson, the maker of wonderful solo variants. Well, he's made a full solo game too. How did it turn out? It's beautiful, and I will give you a quick rundown of it. And that's what you got on my channel, folks. Already a bunch of stuff, but now, oh my gosh, let me tell you about all the other great stuff on other channels. Starting with Amy and Maggie of Thinker Themer. They're doing their first small talk in a long time. They've had to put that wonderful series on hold for many, many months now, and they tell you why. This is an epic, wonderful, charming, laid back, just chatting over a cup of tea as they basically run down their entire year, all the adventures they had playing board games, and also revealing why you haven't been seeing them as much on the channel lately. They've been very, very busy. Although I'm hoping to see them on the channel before the year is out. They think they were getting a copy of Aqua soon. So they'll be doing a run through before too long, folks. But in the meantime, if you're jonesing for Amy and Maggie, and I always am, it's like you're sitting there on the couch with them, hearing about all their various adventures with the latest small talk. Plus, they do quick mini reviews of 3 different games as well. So that's a good start. Next up, we've got Table Talk Toki, who, oh, folks, I couldn't stop myself. 2 videos that she put up this week. First of all, she did her equivalent of a monthly roundup where she talked about a whole bunch of games that she played in November. And I love the way she did it. Honestly, I should take a page from her book, the way she put stats of, everything about the games, player count, where she bought, I mean, all kinds of stuff. I thought it was really, really smart how she did. And she ended up talking about several games that I wasn't aware of, so it was really eye-opening for me as well. And man, she is so fast, just sums them up in a sentence or two. I could really learn a thing or two. But like I said, she had 2 great videos up this week, this one, and also she celebrated her 5,000th subscriber with an epic 5-hour-long live stream where she played a bunch of games: Grove, Trails of Tucana, Simlio, Railroad Inc., and the one Maiden in the Forest, and the one I was really interested in, Mindspace. This is a game I've wanted to play for a while, so it was fantastic seeing her do a run-through of it. Man, she does great run-throughs. I think I need to reach out to her. I'm really impressed by the channel and had a great time with both of those videos. But there's more, folks. Because PAX Unplugged just ended. Everybody got home, and everybody is putting up PAX videos. Oh my gosh, there were so many. I whittled it down to 4 that I really like, starting with one from Grant. No surprise, I love him enough to have him on the channel. I think he's great. And if you just want to hear about games, I think this is your best one, because he's not focusing on the convention or his adventures or anything like that. He's just telling you about games, and I love the way he does them. Most innovative game he saw, best 2-player game he saw, best family game, best co-op game, party game, small box game, big strategy game, theme, and best production and biggest surprise. It was fantastic. Several of these games I haven't heard of. One of them almost made it onto my wish list for the week because it sounded so good. Grant is just wonderful at summing up what makes games really interesting really quickly, and he's got a bunch to talk about in his PAX wrap-up. But now if you want the other end of the spectrum, well, you can check out Rael Gaviola, who did another one of his Words on Wednesday with Amanda McKnight, and the two of them talked about their experiences. And I love the presentation style. Reminds me of my childhood because it's basically a slideshow. Tons and tons of pictures taken of games and other things. A lot of food pictures taken along the way as well. And it's just the two of them sitting back reminiscing about how great a time. They talk about games also, but they talk about a bunch of additional stuff too. And man, they go for almost an hour and a half, and it is just wall-to-wall, fun, engaging. I mean, heck, if you don't need the pictures, you can just put it in the background and listen to it and hear two warm, lovely people just talking about, again, food, talking a lot about food, and also board games in Rael's PAX Unplugged recap. And if you're not done hearing about PAX, well, Chris George also has a PAX Unplugged. What the heck is it, and what do you do? A video log that he put up. And I mean, Matt, what is theirs is an hour and 14 minutes. And again, it covers a wide variety of things, including do's and do nots for how to go to a convention. And also, I think, focusing a little bit at some points on the business side and giving you some ideas of stuff that's going to be coming up on his channel based on connections he made while at this convention. Chris is one of the funniest people in all of board game media. He is a professional actor, just naturally charming. And, you will find the time just zip away as you watch him. But, funnily enough, this is not the funniest PAX video that I watched this week. That would have to go to Dragon's Tomb. And the whole deal of this channel is he makes up silly rules for games that sound real but are also ridiculous. And so he took that idea to PAX Unplugged and did little mini interviews with different publishers talking about their games that were actually there, but with completely made up stuff like appetizers instead of app-assisted games, and just all kinds of really fun stuff. Now this, on the opposite end of my other ones, this is only 5 minutes long. I guarantee at the very least you'll get a chuckle, if not laugh out loud, at some of the stuff he got these people to say at the convention. So, Dragon's Tomb, as always, is wildly entertaining. But okay, enough about PAX, because it's the end of the year, folks, and we're starting to see people putting together their top games of the year videos. And I got a couple that really stood out to me. The first one is from the Brothers Murph. They just break it down to their top 10. I don't know how they can do it. There's still so many games to play. But regardless, I found it an excellent list. I very strongly agreed with several of their entries, and you'll see sneak peeks of some of the ones that make my top 10 of the year. But then they also surprised me with some of these entries as well. And by the way, folks, if you're a backer of their channel on Patreon like I am, they did an additional video that talked about an additional 20 games. They really did their top 30 of the year, and publicly everybody can see the top 10, and then for just a little bit, hardly anything at all, you can see an additional 20. They are a lot of fun, really good list they came up with. I'm not going to spoil any of it. And then instead, let's just go on to Tantrum House, who also put their guys' top 10 of the year. And that doesn't mean it's games for guys or anything like that. It's just Tantrum House is a big team. I guess it's 4 couples. And so they've got 2 top 10s this year. The 4 guys are going to get together. They put that one up. I guess next week they're going to do the 4 girls getting together with their top 10. But here's the deal, folks. This is not a top 10. This is a top 40. Because each of them ended up going over their top 10. Well, actually, they had a little bit of overlap. So it's not quite 40 games in this video. They are still, gosh, it must be like 35 games or something. And again, a lot of ones I think are really fantastic. A lot I haven't played at all. But it zips by really quick. Under 40 minutes, they talk about almost, 40 games with a few repeats in here and there. And they show them off. Great, great video. The Tantrum House, folks, as always, produce some of the highest quality, most polished professional stuff out there. And if you're not watching, if you're not subscribed like me, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I'm sure there's going to be more countdowns coming in the weeks leading up to mine at the end of the year. But what else, folks? Well, let's get away from lists and get back to gameplay demos. Steph Hodge, Steph and Michael, All the Games is their channel. And every week they put up 2 or 3 new videos. I have no idea how they produce so much content and play so many games, but I was particularly drawn in this week because they covered the Art Project, which is a game that Jen and I played a couple of months ago, and I had meant to play it with Jen as a 2-player game so I could actually talk about it, in my wrap-ups and all of that. But on the road, one of the folks we stayed with loved it so much we ended up leaving it with them as a gift. So I'm not going to be able to do a run-through. I'm so sorry, publisher the op. But let me tell you, folks, this is a phenomenal, cooperative, threat management game, in the vein of Pandemic, with lots of hidden information. And I only got a chance to play it at higher player counts. I never got a chance to play it just as a 2-player game with Jen, and I wasn't sure how well it would work at Stu. So I was very happy to see Michael and Steph demonstrating exactly how well it works. It works better than I thought it would, quite frankly. And so, folks, link for it down in the show notes, or wait for the playlist at the end. Definitely worth checking out. My only complaint, Steph, for this video, please embrace the timestamp system for YouTube so that we can skip past the teaching section and get right to the gameplay. Put it in your show notes, 0:00, teaching how to play the game, and then at around 25 minutes, the gameplay begins, and then players can just jump right to the gameplay if they want, because I didn't need to hear the how to teach section. Anyway, though, great video as always, a lot of fun, and I want more eyes on the Art Project. And then, the last one, folks. This is very much in the "and now for something completely different" vein. Eleni of Czech Games Edition went to the real-world city of Kutna Hora and did a quick, a 5-minute video, I think, or less than 5-minute guided tour of the city using her Kutna Hora rulebook with the thematic explanation of locations in the back of the book. She used that as her tour guide to go and see all the places that are recreated in the game in real life. And I thought that was just awesome. I mean, I know Eleni in real life, so it's always great to see her. I mean, from back when I lived in Malta and she was living in Malta at the time. And so, I mean, it's just great to hear her. And it's really, really cool to see the side-by-side of the game components with the real-world things and her talking about this little adventure she went on. It was fantastic. I loved it. Great job, Eleni. Okay, folks. That was a lot of videos. We're almost done. I've got just 2 games. We had a lot of videos to talk about, but only a couple of games to talk about that made it onto my wish list. But, oh man. Am I excited about Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon. Because designer Fabio Lappiano teaming up with Nestore Mangone, I know this is going to be an awesome, what has it got? Variable setup, worker placement, not much information yet. But, I mean, actually, no, there's a fair bit. Oh, there's more than I thought here. Well, folks, this is already on my wish list because Fabio is phenomenal. Nestore always brings his A game as well. And publisher Sorry We Are French is really rising in the ranks also. So I am excited about this for 2024. You'll expect to hear more about it in the early New Year. On New Year's Day, I generally do a most anticipated games of the next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Shackleton Base, A Journey into the Moon, makes it on there. Folks, it's already on my wish list. There's a link for it down in the show notes if you want to put it on your wish list and subscribe, so you'll learn more as more information comes to light. And then, okay, we've got an expansion for Rahdo Recaps. Okay. I feel really bad. I mentioned earlier that I brought along Wild Child West and did a run-through. I should have brought along my copy of Rua as well, because it's in my top 20 games of the year so far. I think it's phenomenal, and I kind of regret not having done a full run-through. Well, you know what? It's getting its first expansion. Actually, it says 2023, but I guess that's probably wrong, and it'll really be 2024. What's it got? New divine entities with special powers that you can vie for the control over. Tiny creatures lurking in the shadow at the bottom of lakes. New cults are emerging. I don't know what all this means, but folks, if you go back to my July monthly roundup, I described how Rahdo works and why it is such an amazing game. But really, the designers tell it all. Johannes Gupi and Theo Riviera. Theo is one of the co-designers of the Loop, which is like the greatest pandemic-inspired co-op game not designed by Matt Leacock himself. The Loop is amazing. And his co-designer, Johannes Gupi, made one of my wife's 10 favorite games of the year, Far Away. So, Rahdo is phenomenal. I mean, heck, maybe when this expansion comes out, I'll get it and then I'll do a full proper run-through because it deserves it. Great, great stuff. Oh, that is so much, folks. How much are we at? Oh, man, I've made it in under 20 minutes. Good for me. Thanks for making it this far, folks. I promised a playlist. Boom, there it is. You can go check all that out. Links down in the show notes. And thanks once again to Santa's Workshop for keeping me recapping. And, folks, you've got stuff to click. Things all over the place. Subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming stuff. Or back the show on Patreon. Or just watch some more videos. Oh, it's a good time to be a board gamer. See you next week.